They pushed humanity too far. Now the vengeance has started. Part 1. The Breaking Point. The colony ship Eternal Dawn moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was a massive vessel, built to carry thousands of people to new worlds. Inside its metal walls, 12,000 humans lived, worked, and dreamed of their new home. Captain Yoon Dae-ho stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the main window. He was 45 years old, with gray hair at his temples and calm eyes that had seen many things. For 20 years, he had commanded ships across the galaxy. He had learned patience. He had learned to solve problems with words instead of weapons. "Captain, we are 6 hours from New Bizon," said Lieutenant Park Soo-bin from her station. She was young, only 28, with sharp eyes and quick hands. Her parents had died 10 years ago when a Velthari patrol ship accidentally destroyed their transport vessel. She had joined the military the next day. "Thank you, Lieutenant," Yoon said quietly. "Tell the colonists to prepare for arrival. They have waited a long time for this moment." New Bizon was supposed to be a fresh start. A planet where humans could build their own cities, grow their own food, and live without asking permission from anyone. The Galactic Assembly had approved the colony after years of applications and payments. Everything was legal. Everything was proper. Chief Engineer Baek Tae-seung walked onto the bridge. He was 60 years old, with rough hands and a tired face. He had worked on ships since he was a boy. "Engines are running smooth, Captain. We will make it without problems." You nodded. "Good. These people deserve a peaceful arrival." But peace was not waiting for them. The sensors screamed a warning. Soo-bin's hands flew across her controls. "Captain." Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. They are Velthari warships. 15 of them. They are surrounding us." Yoon felt his heart grow cold, but his face remained calm. "Open a channel. Let us talk to them." The main screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was Commander Rothax of the Velthari Empire. His scales were dark green, his eyes yellow and cold like a snake. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Human vessel," Rothax said. "You are carrying unauthorized migrants into restricted space. You will surrender your ship and passengers immediately." Yoon stepped forward. "Commander, we have full authorization from the Galactic Assembly. I can send you the documents right now. These are peaceful colonists. Families. Children." Rothax laughed. It was an ugly sound. "The Galactic Assembly means nothing here. This is Velthari space now. We claimed it yesterday. Your authorization is worthless." Soo-bin whispered. "Captain, they cannot do this. The treaties are for equals," Rothax interrupted. He had heard her. "Humans are not our equals. You are pests. You breed too fast. You spread too far. It is time someone taught you to stay in your place." Yoon kept his voice steady. "Commander, I am asking you to let us pass. These people have done nothing wrong. They only want to build homes and raise their children. Then they should have stayed on Earth." Rothax leaned forward. "This is your final warning. Surrender, or we will destroy you. And I hope you choose destruction. I want to see humans burn." The channel closed. Tae-seung grabbed Yoon's arm. "Captain, we cannot fight them. We have no weapons. We are a colony ship. I know." Yoon turned to Soo-bin. "Can we run?" She shook her head. "They are faster. But there is an asteroid field nearby. If we can reach it, we might hide. Do it. Maximum speed." The Eternal Dawn turned and ran. But the Velthari ships were already firing. The first blast hit the rear section. The ship shook like a toy. Alarms screamed everywhere. On the lower decks, colonists fell to the ground, screaming in fear. "Shields at 60%. Soo-bin shouted. We cannot take many more hits. Another blast. Another. The shields failed. Metal tore apart. Air rushed out into space, carrying people with it. In the family section, a wall collapsed, crushing a mother who was holding her baby. Yoon watched the damage reports fill his screen. 8,000 people. Earlier than people. 8,000 innocent people were dying while he stood helpless on his bridge. We are entering the asteroid field. Tae-sung yelled. Taking cover now. The Eternal Dawn dove between massive rocks. The Valkyrie ships fired again, but the asteroids blocked most of the shots. Finally, after what felt like forever, the shooting stopped. Rothax's voice came over the emergency channel. Run, little humans. Tell your people what happens when they think they can be like us. Tell them the Valkyrie Empire does not forget and does not forgive. The warships turned and left, satisfied with their work. Yoon stood frozen. Around him, the ship was crying. Alarms, screams, the sound of metal breaking. He wanted to give orders. He wanted to save everyone. But there was nothing he could do. Captain. Subin's voice was shaking. We have lost. We have lost 67% of the colonists. 8,000 confirmed dead. 3,000 wounded. 8,000. The number meant nothing and everything at the same time. Yoon walked off the bridge. He did not know where he was going. His feet carried him to the medical bay, where doctors and volunteers were trying to save the wounded. A small girl was lying on a table. She was maybe 5 years old. Her dress was burned, and her breathing was weak. A medic was working on her, but Yoon could see it was hopeless. He walked to her side and took her small hand in his. The girl opened her eyes. Is my mommy okay? Yoon could not speak. He just held her hand tighter. Tell her I love her, the girl whispered. Then her eyes closed, and she was gone. Yoon stood there for a long time, holding her hand. Something inside him changed. Something broke and was replaced by something else. Not anger. Anger was hot and loud. This was cold. This was quiet. This was absolute. He walked back to the bridge. Everyone looked at him. His face was different now. His eyes were different. Send a message to Earth, he said. Send all the footage. Everything we recorded. Let every human in the galaxy see what happened here today. Subin nodded. Yes, Captain. The message flew across space at the speed of light. Within hours, it reached every human colony, every station, every ship. People watched in horror as the Eternal Dawn burned. They saw the families running. They saw the children dying. For 80 years, humanity had been quiet members of the galactic community. They had followed the rules. They had accepted insults and unfair treatment. They had believed that patience and hard work would earn them respect. That belief died with the colonists of the Eternal Dawn. On Earth, in the Great Assembly Hall, billions of people watched the footage together. When it ended, there was silence. Then someone started to shout. Then another. Then millions. Then billions. The shout became a single word, repeated across 40 human worlds. Vengeance. Captain Yoon Dae-ho heard it too, even in the cold silence of his damaged ship. He looked at the stars and made a promise to the little girl whose name he never learned. They will pay, he said quietly. Every single one of them. The breaking point had come, and there was no going back. They pushed humanity too far. Now the vengeance has started. Part 2. The gathering storm. 2 weeks passed since the massacre. 2 weeks of funerals. 2 weeks of crying. 2 weeks of anger growing hotter with every hour. Admiral Kang Ji-won stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. She was 62 years old, a woman with silver hair cut short and eyes that had seen too much suffering. For 30 years, she had commanded Earth's defense fleet. For 30 years, She had prepared for a war everyone told her would never happen. They were wrong, she said quietly to herself. And now we will show them how wrong. The doors opened and 12 commanders walked in. They were the leaders of humanity's military forces from across 40 worlds. Some were old, some were young. All of them carried the same look in their eyes. They wanted blood. Sit down, Kang said. We have much to discuss and little time. The commanders sat around the long table. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls. Red dots showed Veltari territory. Blue dots showed human space. The red was much larger than the blue. The Galactic Assembly has done nothing, Kang began. The Veltari killed 8,000 of our people, and the Assembly called it a minor incident. They told us to file a complaint through proper channels. A commander from Mars slammed his fist on the table. Proper channels? They murdered children. I know. Kang raised her hand for silence. I know. But complaining will not bring back the dead. Only action will give us justice. She pressed a button and the map changed. New dots appeared, hidden behind planets and moons, deep in asteroid fields and dark corners of space. For 40 years, we have been building in secret ships, weapons, technology. The Galactic Assembly told us we were not allowed to have a real military. They said it would make other species nervous. So we smiled and agreed while building our true fleet in the shadows. The commanders leaned forward, staring at the map. There were dots everywhere. Hundreds. Thousands. 2,000 warships, Kang said, hidden across human space, waiting for the day we would need them. Silence filled the room. Then the commander from Mars laughed, a hard and bitter sound. You old fox. You knew this day would come. I hoped it would not. But I prepared anyway. Kang looked at each commander in turn. The question is, are you ready to use them? Every hand rose. Not one person hesitated. On the other side of Earth, Dr. Shin Yunho worked in his underground laboratory. He was 50 years old, thin and tired, with glasses that always sat crooked on his nose. For 20 years, he had developed weapons the galaxy had never seen. Weapons that were forbidden by treaties humanity had signed under pressure. The treaties mean nothing now, he said to his assistant. Bring me the files on Project Thunder. Project Thunder was his greatest work. Gravity well disruptors that could tear enemy ships apart from the inside. Quantum pulse cannons that could cut through any shield. And most importantly, jump drives that did not need the Galactic Gate network. Humanity could now travel anywhere without asking permission from anyone. These will change everything, his assistant said. Looking at the designs, that is the point. Shin smiled for the first time in weeks. The Veltari think we are primitives. Let them learn how wrong they are. Far above Earth, in the orbital station that served as humanity's gateway to the galaxy, Ambassador Choi Hana prepared for her final appearance at the Galactic Assembly. She was 55 years old, elegant and composed, with a face that had spent decades hiding anger behind polite smiles. She had tried diplomacy for 20 years. She had begged, negotiated, and compromised. She had believed that if humans just worked hard enough, they would finally be accepted. That belief was dead now. Buried with 8,000 colonists, the Galactic Assembly Chamber was enormous, filled with representatives from 100 species. Insectoids clicked their mandibles. Tall beings made of living crystal hummed with light. The Veltari ambassador sat in his special seat, looking bored and superior. Hana walked to the speaking platform. Every eye turned to her. I come here today to ask for justice, she began. 2 weeks ago, the Veltari Empire attacked a peaceful human colony ship. They killed 8,000 civilians, including 1,000 children. We have provided evidence. We have provided witness testimony. We have followed every proper procedure. The Valkyrie ambassador yawned. And yet, Hana continued, this assembly has done nothing. You have called it a minor incident. You have suggested we file more paperwork. You have treated the lives of our children as if they were nothing. A tall insectoid raised its limb to speak. Ambassador Choi, we understand your emotions, but the evidence is complicated. Perhaps the Valkyrie had reasons we do not understand. Reasons? Hannah's voice turned cold. What reason justifies murdering children? The Valkyrie ambassador finally spoke. Your species breeds too quickly. You spread too far. Perhaps this was a lesson you needed to learn. Perhaps next time your people will remember their place. He smiled. Several other ambassadors laughed. Hannah stood very still. She had expected this. She had prepared for this moment for 2 weeks. She took a deep breath and let all her diplomatic training fall away. I see, she said. Then let me make something clear to this assembly. Her voice grew stronger, harder. For 80 years, humanity has been a faithful member of this community. We followed your rules. We accepted your insults. We paid your fees. We believed that if we were patient, if we were good, we would eventually be treated as equals. She looked directly at the Valkyrie ambassador. We were wrong. You never intended to treat us fairly. You saw our patience as weakness. You saw our kindness as fear. You thought we would accept anything, tolerate anything, as long as we could stay in your precious assembly. Hannah paused. The chamber was completely silent now. No more. Today, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Assembly. We reject your rules, your treaties, and your authority over us. And to the Valkyrie Empire specifically, I have one message. She stepped closer to the Valkyrie ambassador, close enough to see the confusion in his yellow eyes. You killed our children. You laughed about it. You told us to remember our place. Her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow filled the entire chamber. Now we will teach you yours. She turned and walked out. The doors closed behind her with a sound that echoed through history. Within the hour, every human diplomat, worker, and citizen began leaving the galactic stations. Ships departed from every port. Communications went silent. For the first time in 80 years, humanity stood alone. 3 days later, the survivors of the Eternal Dawn arrived at Earth. Captain Yoon Daeho walked off his damaged ship to find Admiral Kang waiting for him. Captain, she said, I have read your reports. I am sorry for what you experienced. Yoon looked at her with his new eyes, the eyes that had watched 8,000 people die. I do not want sympathy, Admiral. I want a ship with weapons. Kang smiled grimly. You will have something better. You will have a fleet. Lieutenant Park Soo-bin and Chief Engineer Baek Tae-seung stood behind their captain. Soo-bin's face was hard as stone. Tae-seung looked older than he had 2 weeks ago. Where do we report? Soo-bin asked. Come with me, Kang said. There is something you need to see. She led them to a transport ship that flew toward Jupiter. Hours later, they arrived at the dark side of Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. And there, hidden in the moon's shadow, was the fleet. 2,000 ships, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, attack carriers. All of them painted black, all of them armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Soo-bin gasped. Tae-seung whispered a prayer. Even Yoon, who thought he could not feel anything anymore, felt his heart beat faster. This is the true human fleet, Kang said. We built it in secret. We waited for the right moment. That moment is now. Yoon stared at the ships. Each one represented years of hidden work, millions of hours of secret labor. His people had prepared for this day while still hoping it would never come. When do we attack? he asked. Kang looked at him with respect. In 3 days. The Valkyrie Empire thinks we are weak and broken. They think we will cry and complain and do nothing. In 3 days, we will prove them wrong. The fleet began to move, emerging from the shadows of Europa like ghosts rising from a grave. 2,000 ships, carrying the anger of 40 billion humans. The gathering storm had become a hurricane, and it was heading straight for the Valkyrie Empire. They pushed humanity too far. Now the vengeance has started. Part 4. The cost of vengeance. The war had lasted 3 months. 3 months of blood, fire, and death spreading across the stars. Captain Yoon Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching another Valkyrie world burn on his screen. Not the surface, just the military stations in orbit. But from this distance, it was hard to see the difference. Station destroyed, Captain, Lieutenant Park Soo-bin reported. Her voice was flat, mechanical. She had given this report too many times. Enemy fleet is in full retreat. Casualties? Ours, 12 ships, 400 personnel. Theirs, unknown, significant. Unknown, significant. Words that meant nothing and everything. Yoon had stopped asking for exact numbers weeks ago. The numbers had started haunting his dreams. Chief Engineer Baek Tae-sung walked onto the bridge. He looked 10 years older than he had before the war. Captain, the ship needs repairs. We have pushed too hard for too long. I know. Yoon rubbed his tired eyes. We all have. The communication system beeped. Admiral Kang's face appeared on the main screen. She looked as exhausted as everyone else, but her eyes still held their sharp intelligence. Captain Yoon, good work on the threshold expansion. 3 more systems under our control. The Empire is retreating on all fronts. Thank you, Admiral. Yoon paused. But we are paying a heavy price. My crew is exhausted. Our supplies are running low. And I am seeing things that concern me. Kang nodded slowly. I know. The war is changing us. That is why I am calling. We have received an unusual communication. Someone from the Valkyrie side wants to talk. A surrender? Not exactly. A religious leader named Priestess Velith. She claims to represent Valkyrie, who oppose the Empire's actions. She wants to meet. In person. Yoon frowned. It could be a trap. It could. But I want you to take the meeting. Bring Lieutenant Park and a small security team. If there is any chance of ending this war without more death, we should explore it. The meeting took place on a small moon between the battle lines. Yoon Soo-bin and 10 soldiers walked into a gray building that had been emptied for the occasion. Priestess Velith was waiting inside. She was different from other Valkyrie Yoon had seen. Her scales were a softer green, and her eyes held none of the cold cruelty he had come to expect. She wore simple robes and carried no weapons. Captain Yoon, she said, bowing her head. Thank you for coming. I know you have no reason to trust me. You are correct. Yoon kept his hand near his weapon. Speak quickly. Why are you here? Velith sat down slowly, as if she carried a great weight. Not all Valkyrie supported the attack on your colony ship. Not all of us wanted this war. The Empire has done terrible things, and many of us are ashamed. Soo-bin stepped forward. Ashamed? Where was your shame when they killed 8,000 people? Where was your shame when your commanders laughed about murdering children? I understand your anger. Velith met Soo-bin's eyes without flinching. I cannot change what happened. I can only try to stop what happens next. And what is that? Yoon asked. Velith's voice dropped. Your fleet is powerful. Your weapons are beyond anything we expected. In 3 months, you have done more damage to the Empire than any enemy in our history. But I must warn you, the Emperor is growing desperate. He is considering actions that would make the Eternal Dawn massacre look small. What kind of actions? Biological weapons, planet killers, attacks on human civilian worlds. Velith shook her head. He would rather destroy everything than admit defeat. Millions would die. Billions, perhaps. The room was silent. Yoon felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He had known the war would escalate, but this was worse than he had imagined. "Why are you telling us this?" he asked. "Because I want to stop it. There are many Velthri who want peace. If the Emperor falls, we could build a new government. One that genuinely wants cooperation with humanity." Subin laughed bitterly. "And why should we believe you? Your people have lied to us for 80 years. You should not believe me." Velith stood. "Believe your own intelligence. Confirm what I have told you. But know this. If you destroy the Emperor's palace on Velthri Prime, the military command structure will collapse. The war will end. And those of us who want peace will have a chance to build something better." She walked toward the door, then stopped. "One more thing. I am told that Commander Rothax ordered the attack on your colony ship on his own authority. The Emperor was furious when he found out, not because of the deaths, but because Rothax acted without permission. Rothax was supposed to capture the colonists for labor camps, not kill them. The massacre was his personal choice." She left. The door closed behind her. Yoon and Subin stood in silence for a long moment. "Do you believe her?" Subin finally asked. "I do not know." Yoon stared at the door. "But if what she says is true, we need to end this war quickly, before it destroys everyone." They returned to the fleet and reported to Admiral Kang. She listened carefully, then called her senior commanders for a strategy meeting. Dr. Shin Yunho was there, looking more tired than ever. He had been working constantly, improving weapons, building new systems. "I have something that could end this quickly," he said. "Project Omega, a gravity weapon that could destroy Velthri Prime entirely. Crack the planet like an egg. One shot, war over." Admiral Kang stared at him. "You want us to destroy an entire planet? Kill billions of civilians?" "They would have done the same to us." The priestess confirmed it. "That does not mean we should become like them." Kang shook her head firmly. "No, we are not going to commit genocide." "That is not who we are," Shin protested, but Kang silenced him with a look. "This discussion is over. We will attack Velthri Prime. We will capture or kill the Emperor. But we will not murder billions of innocent beings. Is that understood?" Everyone nodded, though some looked unhappy. Captain Yoon spoke up. "There is another problem. If we attack the homeworld, the Emperor might use his doomsday weapons before we can stop him. We need to move fast and hit hard. Then we will." Kang pulled up a map of the Velthri system. "Full fleet assault. Every ship we have. We break through their defenses, land troops on the planet, and capture the Emperor before he can give any final orders." The plan was set. In 2 days, humanity's entire fleet would jump to Velthri Prime for the final battle. The night before the attack, Captain Yoon could not sleep. He walked through the eternal dawn, checking on his crew, looking at the faces of people who might die tomorrow. He found Subin in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "Cannot sleep either?" he asked. "No?" She did not look at him. "I keep thinking about what the priestess said, about Rothax ordering the massacre on his own, about how it was not supposed to happen. Does it matter?" "I do not know." Subin's voice cracked slightly. "I have spent 10 years hating the Velthri. All of them. I told myself they were all monsters. But now I am not sure. Velith seemed genuine. And if she is right, then some of them are just people. People caught in a war they did not want." Yoon stood beside her. "I have been thinking the same thing. We have killed thousands of Velthri soldiers. Some of them were probably like Velith, just following orders, wanting peace. Then, what were we fighting for? Justice, protection, making sure they can never hurt us again. Yoon paused. But maybe also revenge. And revenge is a poison. It feels necessary at first, but it changes you. Subin finally looked at him. Her eyes were wet. I do not want to become a monster, Captain. I wanted justice for my parents, for the colonists, for the children. But somewhere along the way, I started enjoying the killing. And that scares me. Yoon put his hand on her shoulder. The fact that it scares you means you are still human. Monsters do not question themselves. Monsters do not feel shame. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Tomorrow they would fight the biggest battle of the war. Tomorrow people would die on both sides. But tonight, they could remember what they were fighting to protect. Not just human lives, but human souls. The next morning, the fleet gathered at the jump point. 2,000 ships, filled with soldiers ready to end the war. Admiral Khan's voice came over every speaker on every vessel. Today, we fight for everyone we have lost. For the colonists of the Eternal Dawn. For every human who has died in this war. But we also fight for the future. A future where our children can live without fear. A future where no one will ever think they can harm us without consequence. Today, we end this. Together. The ships jumped. And the final battle began. They pushed humanity too far. Now the vengeance has started. Part 3. First Blood, the Threshold, was a region of space that marked the border between human territory and the Velthri Empire. It was filled with military stations, patrol fleets, and warning systems. For decades, it had kept humans in their place, reminding them that they were small and the Empire was large. Today, the threshold would fall. Admiral Kang Ji-won stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Hammer of Earth. Around her, 2,000 human ships waited in the darkness between stars. They had arrived using their new jump drives, appearing far from any galactic gate, far from any detection system. Status report, she said calmly. All ships ready. Admiral, her tactical officer reported. The Velthri have no idea we are here. Their patrol patterns suggest complete confidence. They are not expecting any trouble. Good. Khan looked at the main screen, where Threshold Station 7 floated in space like an ugly metal flower. That was where Commander Rothax was stationed. That was where justice would begin. Open a channel to Captain Yoon. Yoon's face appeared on a side screen. He was aboard the Eternal Dawn, now repaired and armed with the new weapons. His crew had requested to be part of the first attack. Kang had agreed. Captain, your team will board the station after we destroy its defenses. Your objective is Rothax. Take him alive if possible. We want the galaxy to see him answer for his crimes. You nodded. Understood, Admiral. He will face justice. Lieutenant Park will lead the ground team. Are you confident in her abilities? Completely. Yoon glanced at something off-screen. She has been waiting for this moment for 10 years. Kang understood. They all had been waiting in their own ways. Very well. Begin the attack in 3 minutes. May fortune favor the bold. The channel closed. Kang looked at her crew, at the young men and women who were about to fight for their species. Many of them would die today, but they would die as warriors, not as victims. All ships, she said, her voice carrying across the fleet. This is Admiral Kang. Today, we remind the galaxy that humanity is not prey. We are not weak. We are not afraid. Those who harmed our people will learn the true meaning of fear. Attack formation. Weapons free. Let them burn. 2,000 ships surged forward. The Velthri patrol fleet saw them coming too late. Their sensors screamed warnings that made no sense. How are the humans here? How did they have so many ships? Where did they come from? The questions had no time for answers. The first quantum pulse cannon fired, a beam of pure white light that cut through a Valkyrie cruiser like it was made of paper. The ship exploded in silence, bodies and metal spinning into the void. Their shields are useless. A Valkyrie commander screamed into his communication system. Our shields are doing nothing. The gravity well disruptors activated. 3 Valkyrie destroyers suddenly found their own mass turned against them. Metal bent. Metal hulls cracked. Ships collapsed inward like crushed cans. The human fleet moved through the Valkyrie forces like fire through dry grass. Ships that had once terrorized human colonies now fled in panic, only to be hunted down and destroyed. On Threshold Station 7, Commander Rothax watched the battle from his command center. His scales had turned pale. His hands were shaking. "This is impossible," he whispered. "They are primitives. They cannot have this technology." An officer ran into the room. "Commander, the station's defenses are failing. Human ships are breaking through. They are launching boarding pods." Rothax grabbed the officer by his uniform. "Then stop them. Send all security forces to the docking areas." "Sir, we are outnumbered. Their weapons are superior. What should we do?" Rothax released the officer. He looked around his command center, at the screens showing his fleet being destroyed, at the officers running in panic. The empire he had served, the power he had trusted, was crumbling around him. "I need to escape," he muttered. "Ready my personal ship." "I am leaving, sir. The Admiral ordered us to hold position." "The Admiral is a fool." Rothax was already moving toward the door. "I will not die here. Not like this. Not killed by human animals." The boarding pods hit the station like bullets. Their doors blasted open, and human soldiers poured out, weapons firing. Lieutenant Park Soo-bin led the first team. She wore black armor and carried a rifle that hummed with energy. Behind her, 50 soldiers moved in perfect formation. They had trained for months. They were ready. "Target is the command center," she said into her helmet radio. "Kill anyone who fights. Capture anyone who surrenders. Move fast." The station's corridors were chaos. Valkyrie soldiers tried to form defensive lines, but the human weapons cut through their armor. Bodies fell. Blood, both red and green, painted the metal walls. Soo-bin moved without hesitation. She had dreamed of this moment since she was 18, since the day her parents died. Every Valkyrie face became the face of the officer who had called their deaths an accident. Every shot was an answer to years of injustice. "Lieutenant, we have reached the command center," a soldier reported. "Door is sealed." Soo-bin walked to the door. "Breach it." Explosives turned the door into fragments. Soo-bin walked through the smoke, rifle raised. The command center was filled with officers, some trying to fight, others cowering in corners. "Kill the fighters. Secure the rest." She scanned the room. Rothax was not there. "Where is the commander?" A captured officer pointed with a shaking limb. He ran to the private hangar. "He is trying to escape." Soo-bin felt cold anger fill her chest. Of course he would run. Cowards always ran. "Team 2 with me. Everyone else, hold this position." She ran through the station, faster than she had ever run before. The private hangar was 3 levels down. Rothax had a head start, but she would not let him escape. She would not let him live free while the children of the eternal dawn rotted in space. The hangar doors were open. A small, fast ship was powering up, preparing to launch. And there, climbing into the cockpit, was Commander Rothax. "Stop." Soo-bin raised her rifle. Rothax froze. He turned slowly, and his yellow eyes met hers. Recognition flickered in his face. I remember you. You were on that colony ship. The little officer who thought she could negotiate. I am not here to negotiate. Su Bin walked closer. Get out of the ship. Slowly. Rothax laughed, though there was no humor in it. You think you have won? You think destroying one station means anything? The Empire has hundreds of stations, thousands of ships. You have achieved nothing. This is just the beginning of your end. Maybe. Su Bin stopped 5 meters from him. But you will not live to see it. Get out. Now. Rothax's hand moved toward a hidden weapon. Su Bin fired. The shot hit his leg, and he screamed, falling to the hangar floor. She stood over him, looking down at the creature who had ordered the deaths of 8,000 innocent people. He was smaller than she had imagined, weaker, just another bully who had never expected his victims to fight back. You are going to face trial, she said. The entire galaxy will watch as you answer for what you did. Every species will see the great commander Rothax crawl and beg for mercy. Rothax spat at her. I will never beg. Not to a human. You are animals. You will always be animals. Su Bin smiled, cold and satisfied. We are animals? Fine. Animals protect their pack. Animals remember those who hurt them. Animals hunt. She signaled her team. Take him to the ship. Admiral Kang wants him alive. For now, soldiers dragged Rothax away. His screams echoed through the hangar, mixing with the distant sounds of battle. In orbit, the fight was ending. 12 Valkyrie stations had been destroyed or captured. The patrol fleet was scattered, ships fleeing in every direction, carrying stories of human weapons they could not match. Admiral Kang watched the final reports come in. How many did we lose? 47 ships, Admiral. 2,300 personnel. It was less than she had expected, but every number was a name, a family, a life. Note them all. They will be remembered. Captain Yoon's voice came over the communication system. Admiral, we have Rothax. Station 7 is secured. What are your orders? Kang allowed herself a small smile. Good work, Captain. Return to the fleet. We move to the next target in 6 hours. The next target? The threshold was just the beginning. We are going deeper. Much deeper. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread like fire. Species that had ignored humanity for decades now watched in shock. The Valkyrie Empire, one of the most powerful forces in known space, had just suffered its greatest defeat in centuries. And humanity was just getting started. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Su Bin stood beside Captain Yoon, watching the stars. Her armor was stained with blood, but her face was calm. How do you feel? Yoon asked. Su Bin thought about it. She had expected satisfaction, triumph, closure. Instead, she felt empty. I thought this would feel better. Capturing him. Getting justice. But it does not. Yoon nodded slowly. It never does. Vengeance does not heal wounds. It only creates new ones. Then why are we doing this? The captain looked at the distant Valkyrie stars, at the enemy waiting beyond. Because some wounds must be answered. Not for satisfaction, not for healing, but so that no one ever dares to harm us again. Su Bin understood. This was not about feeling good. This was about survival. This was about making sure no human child would ever die like the children of the Eternal Dawn. Then we keep fighting, she said. They pushed humanity too far. Now the vengeance has started. Part 5. The Reckoning. Valkyrie Prime was a beautiful world from space. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds drifting across the surface. It looked peaceful. It looked innocent, but the sky above it was on fire. The human fleet had arrived in a wave of light and thunder. 2,000 ships against the largest Velthari defense force ever assembled. 3,000 enemy vessels, orbital stations, missile platforms, and planetary shields stood between humanity and the Emperor. Admiral Kang Ji-won watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the Hammer of Earth. Ships exploded like tiny suns. Beams of light cut across the darkness. It was the largest battle in galactic history, and she was commanding it. "Enemy flagship is breaking formation," her tactical officer shouted. "They're trying to concentrate fire on our left flank. Tell Captain Yoon to reinforce that position and activate the gravity disruptors. I want a hole in their center." The disruptors fired. Space itself seemed to bend and twist. 5 Velthari cruisers were pulled together and crushed into a ball of metal and death. "We have a hole, Admiral. All assault carriers, push through. Land the ground troops. We need soldiers on that planet now." Across the battle, Captain Yoon Dae-ho pushed the Eternal Dawn forward. The ship that had once carried peaceful colonists was now a weapon of vengeance. Its guns fired without stopping. Its shields held against everything the enemy threw at it. "Captain, we are through the defense line," Chief Engineer Baek Tae-sung reported. "Entering atmosphere in 2 minutes." Lieutenant Park Soo-bin was already in the drop bay, surrounded by 500 soldiers in combat armor. This was the mission they had trained for. Land on the planet. Storm the Emperor's palace. End the war. "Remember your orders," she told her troops. "We capture the Emperor alive if possible. We protect civilians. We are not here to destroy the Velthari people. We are here to end their leadership." "Yes, Lieutenant." 500 voices answered that the Eternal Dawn broke through the clouds. Below them, the capital city of the Velthari Empire spread across the landscape like a jewel. Tall spires reached toward the sky. Golden domes glittered in the sunlight. And in the center, the Emperor's palace stood like a mountain of black stone. "Landing zone confirmed." Yoon's voice came over the radio. "Drop in 30 seconds. Good luck, Soo-bin. Make it count." The drop pods fired. Soo-bin felt the pressure push her back into her seat. The ground rushed toward her. Then impact, hard and sudden. The pod's door blasted open, and she was running, firing, leading her soldiers through the palace gates. Velthari guards poured out to meet them. Elite warriors in heavy armor, carrying the best weapons the Empire had. They fought with desperation, knowing their world depended on them. But the human soldiers were better. Months of war had made them into killing machines. They moved through the palace like a storm, room by room, level by level. Soo-bin led the way. Her rifle never stopped firing. Bodies fell around her. She did not feel anything anymore. No fear, no anger. Just cold focus. "Lieutenant, we have found the throne room," a soldier called. Heavy resistance at the door. Soo-bin ran to the position. 20 Velthari guards had formed a wall in front of massive golden doors. They were the Emperor's personal bodyguards, the most deadly warriors in the Empire. Grenades first. Then we pushed through. Explosions shook the hallway. Smoke filled the air. Soo-bin charged through it, her soldiers behind her. The guards fought hard, but they were outnumbered. One by one, they fell. The golden doors opened. The throne room was enormous. Pillars of black marble held up a ceiling covered in paintings of Velthari victories. And at the far end, sitting on a throne of gold and bones, was the Emperor himself. He was old, older than any Velthari Soo-bin had ever seen. His scales were faded and cracked. His eyes were yellow and full of hate. But he did not look afraid. He looked amused. "So the animals have finally reached me," he said. His voice was calm, almost bored. "I must admit, I am impressed. I did not think you had it in you." Soo-bin aimed her rifle at his head. "Emperor of the Velthari, You are under arrest for crimes against humanity. You will face trial for the massacre of the Eternal Dawn and all other acts of war." The Emperor laughed. "Trial? You think I will submit to human justice? You think I will stand in your primitive courts and listen to your primitive laws? You do not have a choice." Su Bin stepped closer. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your guards are dead. Your empire is falling. This is the end." The Emperor's hand moved toward a button on his throne. "Perhaps, but it does not have to be the end for just me." Su Bin recognized what he was reaching for. A dead switch. A connection to weapons that could destroy everything. She fired. The shot hit his arm. He screamed and fell from his throne, clutching his bleeding limb. Soldiers rushed forward and pinned him to the ground. "He was trying to activate something," Su Bin said. "Find it and stop it." Engineers rushed to the throne and began working on the controls. Minutes passed. Finally, one of them looked up with relief. It was connected to biological weapons hidden across the planet. If he had pressed it, millions would have died, including Velthari civilians. Su Bin looked down at the Emperor. "You were willing to kill your own people just to hurt us?" The Emperor spat at her. "My people? They are worthless. They let you animals defeat them. They deserve death. No one deserves what you would have done." Su Bin turned away from him. "Take him to the ship. Chain him. Gag him, if necessary. He will face justice, whether he wants to or not." Above the planet, the battle was ending. The Velthari fleet, seeing their emperor captured and their command structure destroyed, began surrendering. Ships powered down their weapons. Crews sent messages of surrender. Admiral Kang broadcast to the entire system. "The war is over. The emperor has been captured. All Velthari forces are ordered to stand down. Any who surrender will be treated fairly. Any who continue to fight will be destroyed." One by one, the enemy ships accepted. 3 days later, a new era began. The trial of the Emperor and Commander Rothax was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species watched as the 2 Velthari leaders answered for their crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. The testimony was devastating. Ambassador Choi Hana led the human prosecution. Her voice was calm and measured as she presented footage of the Eternal Dawn massacre, of the labor camps, of the planned genocide. The Galactic Tribunal, made up of judges from 12 neutral species, found both defendants guilty. The Emperor was sentenced to life imprisonment on a remote prison world. Rothax received the same fate as guards led him away. Rothax looked at Lieutenant Su Bin, who sat in the audience. "This changes nothing," he hissed. "You are still animals. You always will be." Su Bin met his eyes without expression. "Maybe, but we are animals who beat you. Remember that in your cell." He disappeared through the doors. She never saw him again. In the weeks that followed, Priestess Velith kept her promise. A new Velthari government formed, one that genuinely wanted peace. Old treaties were torn up. New ones were written. For the first time in history, humans and Velthari would work together as equals. Humanity was offered a permanent seat on the reformed Galactic Council. Ambassador Choi accepted with a simple speech. We wanted only to live in peace. We were forced to fight. Now we choose to build. Let this be the last war any of us ever have to fight. A memorial was built on New Bazan, the world the colonists of the Eternal Dawn had never reached. 8,000 names were carved into black stone. Families came to cry and remember. Children placed flowers at the base. Captain Yoon Dae-ho visited the memorial alone 1 year after the massacre. He stood before the names for a long time, reading each one. "I do not know if we did the right thing," he said quietly. "We saved ourselves. We protected our future. But so many died. On both sides. I will carry that weight for the rest of my life." He placed a small flower at the base of the stone. "But I promise you this, no one will ever forget you. And no one will ever make us victims again." The new Eternal Dawn was waiting in orbit. It was a colony ship again, carrying 5,000 humans to New Bizon. Yoon had requested command. He wanted to finish the journey that had been interrupted. Subin was there too, though no longer as a soldier. She had resigned her commission after the war. The fighting had taken too much from her. She needed time to heal. Chief Engineer Taesung had stayed. He was the only one of the original crew who wanted to keep working. "Someone has to keep these ships flying," he said. "Might as well be me." As the ship prepared to jump, Taesung joined Yoon on the bridge. "Do you think it was worth it?" he asked. "Everything we did. Everything we lost." Yoon looked at the stars, at the peaceful darkness, at the future waiting beyond. The vengeance? No. Revenge never gives you what you want. It just leaves you empty. He paused. But protecting our people? Making sure they can live without fear? That was worth everything. And what now? Yoon smiled, the first real smile in a long time. Now we build. We grow. We become what we were always meant to be. Not victims. Not warriors. Just people. Living our lives. Raising our families. Looking at the stars. The ship jumped to light speed. Through the windows, the stars stretched into lines of light, carrying hope into the darkness. The vengeance was over. But the story of humanity was just beginning.